The Chargers did what they needed to do, blowing out the Raiders on Sunday, but it came at a major cost as star quarterback Justin Herbert broke his hand.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Well, thank you those who bared with us. We're having some issues on YouTube, but thank you as always for making us your first listen. I am your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by David Droegemeier. To make sure you never miss the show, especially late night episodes like tonight's, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcasts from. David, obviously a big win, but the biggest story right now is Justin Herbert's hand.
Yeah, another injury for Justin Herbert to have to fight through. Fortunately, Justin Herbert is as tough as they come, and we've seen him battle through injuries before, and I am very confident he is going to do so again.
Well, if you ask him, he's planning on playing on Monday Night Football. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. David, the Chargers did exactly what we hoped they would do on Sunday. We didn't want them to be playing a tight game. You wanted them to come out and be able to show the improvements that were made during the bye week, and maybe more than that, show that they had that effort restored, that energy restored, get back to looking like the team that went on the 3-game winning streak, unlike the team that got blown out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. But they were able to get that done at a cost because Justin Herbert broke his left hand. We found out from Jim Harbaugh after the game. I didn't know he broke his hand because the next play after that, he threw a touchdown to Quentin Johnston. So his toughness will never be questioned. We know he's only missed games one time with as many injuries as he's had. Fractured rib cartilage, right? Broken fingers on his left hand and played through it in 2023. We know he had, patellar tendon stuff last year, played through it. He's come out of games. He's only missed games in one season. That was that 2023 season from hell. As of right now, Jim Harbaugh says that Justin Herbert is going to get a procedure on Monday, and he's unsure if he is going to miss time. And Justin Herbert is saying that the doctors are hopeful they will be able to stabilize it, and that they feel hopeful he's actually going to be able to somehow return on Monday Night Football against the Eagles.
Well, if you know Justin Herbert, then you know how tough that guy is. You know how crazy the injuries that he's played through. Lesser men would not be able to do it, quite frankly. I mean, Justin Herbert's cut from a different cloth. That's why he's the leader of this franchise. A guy that he may not speak it, he may not talk about it, but he's going to go show it, and he's going to go prove it time and time and time again. And this is just another example to continue the tradition of quarterbacks that fight through injuries for the Chargers. Obviously, we saw it with Phillip Rivers when he played through tearing his ACL, having surgery, and playing the very next week. That's the type of kind of lineage that you have with this football franchise. And I think Justin Herbert is going to be out there. I feel confident that he is going to be, as long as everything goes well with this procedure that they do tomorrow. Justin Herbert is going to be out there. He knows that this stretch of football games is super important. It's basically a playoff time right now. If you want to be able to get to the playoffs, you got to get a couple of more wins. And I don't know how you can feel good about your prospects of the Chargers getting those wins without number 10 suiting up and leading the team on Sundays.
One shout out to Trey Lance, who I thought, looked decent in his small amount of time in this game. Justin Herbert had to go to the locker room, and he was not able to come back out there and be there for the next offensive drive. So Trey Lance, take some snaps. Ran it a couple times, did have a fumble they got bailed out on because of a false start. But I do think that, yes, if you could plan all week knowing you have Trey Lance, maybe you could win some games. The 5 games they have left on their schedule, I don't know if you'd feel good about any of those games. Like, Trey Lance might have been able to beat the Raiders on Sunday. I'll say it like that. Against the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Broncos, the Chiefs, I just don't think so. So it would be huge if he could come back, but it's what version of him comes back, because in this game, after he returned, the Chargers were unable to take any snaps under center, and it came back to almost bite them immediately. They got down into the red zone. It was a 4th and 1. he can't get on under center to do the tush push, to run a quarterback sneak. They've been one of the best quarterback sneak teams in the NFL so far this season. When you have a 6'6", 240-pound quarterback, that should always be your number one option on 4th and 1 like that. They can't do it. They decide to run it anyways, which I think was pretty dumb, out of the shotgun, and Kimani Vidal gets dropped for a loss. You come up empty in the end zone, and that was in 4th down, and that was like the story of this game. The Chargers got off to such a slow start and were able to overcome it. But like, I think what the Chargers are going to have to kind of, reckon with this week is just, if he's limited to the point where it changes our offense drastically on Monday Night Football, and if we give him an extra week off, could he be back under center? Could the offense look more normal? Do you do it? But I mean, Justin Herbert, man, like, who knows? When he was at that podium, I believed him when he said he was planning on being out there for Monday Night Football. But that is really what this game was, David, because the Chargers really, really struggled early and had 2 red zone trips that ended up with 0 points and a terrible interception by Justin Herbert. And then in the second half, they came out and pulled away.
Yeah, they absolutely did. The first half was like, oh no, it was nightmare fuel, right? I was like, there's no way that we're at halftime and we're tied with this football team. There's just absolutely no way that this should be the case. After a bye week, after you have time to be able to get things right, it looked like they were heading towards another Jacksonville type of performance against this type of team, which you just can't have at all. And fortunately, they turned it on in the second half. 24 points they scored in the second half, and they got rolling. And that was massive for them to be able to have that performance in the first half, be able to shake it off, regroup, reset, and go out there and dominate, quite frankly, in the second half, to where at the end they added a touchdown they didn't really need to add, but I'm all for it. It was all about stepping on their neck and finishing it and sweeping the Raiders and being undefeated in the AFC West this season. It was absolutely a tale of two halves. Fortunately for the Chargers, they were a lot better in the second half when it counts.
Yeah, and that's what you want to be. You want to be a second half team. You want to be a fourth quarter team. And that was so frustrating, was one of the biggest issues in the first half of the season before the bye week, was just converting in the red zone. So when you have 2 back-to-back red zone opportunities, one coming from your defense, getting an incredible interception from Tony Jefferson, to come up empty on those, right? And it just felt like those 2 drives would have been different if they could have used Justin Herbert, because before Justin Herbert threw that goal line interception, they had it on the 1-yard line. They could have tried to sneak it in there. They couldn't do that. They tried to run it out of shotgun, got dropped for a loss. And then, especially with the space that condensed that deep in the red zone, they had to throw the ball. He throws it late. It was a bad interception for all the unluckiness he's had this year. That one, fully on him. You have to throw that ball away and take the 3 points there. But it was about them being able to pull away in the second half. And I thought the most encouraging thing here, David, was them winning in the trenches. Like, getting back to being a trenches team. This game, they dominated. The offensive line in the running game dominated the Raiders' defensive line. And then defensively, the Chargers absolutely stuffed them whenever they tried to run the football. So the one thing you can control is your effort. The one thing we know Jim Harbaugh wants to be is a physical trenches team. It actually looked that way on Sunday. And there was times, especially in that Jacksonville game, when he said they got out physical, Jim Harbaugh did, that you didn't feel that way about this team.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it. I mean, for us, like, we've watched every single Chargers game pretty much our entire lives. So I think, we've been covering this team for 10 years. We can see when the effort, the energy, the physicality and violence is there and when it's not there. It's completely clear and obvious to me every single time, because it looks different. It looks like a different football team. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, there was no physicality from anybody not named Khalil Mack. I mean, to me, it was a horrendous and completely unacceptable performance. In this game, from the very, very beginning, we saw that physicality and violence on both sides of the ball. Going forward in the running game and dictating and opening up holes from everybody, including Trey Harris, who is an absolute beast in run blocking and getting his guy out of the way just every single time. That guy is a weapon in that department. But on the defensive line, the offensive line, they were dictating this game. And whenever you can do that, whenever you can dominate the line of scrimmage, you're going to win a lot of football games.
And it turned out it was Kimani Vidal's third 100-yard game of the season. Are we sure Omarion's taking that spot back? But it was also Jamari Salyer at left tackle leading the way. And we're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why the Game Time app is so clutch. Finally, giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moments they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes the World Cup a realistic option instead of impossible. I know it's a bucket list item for me going to the World Cup. I will find a way to go support them, the USA that is at the World Cup. I'm very excited about that, and I'll be getting my tickets with Game Time. But if you want tickets to the next Chargers game, you have to go through Game Time, because if you look right now, you can still get tickets for less than $200 for this big-time matchup against the reeling Eagles team. But the closer it gets to kickoff, the lower the price gets. So make sure you guys take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets or Chargers tickets. And for every match, concert, or event with Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. David, one of the biggest stories of this game offensively for the Chargers was finding their rhythm in the running game. We know that the Chargers in their losses have been really struggling outside of the Giants game to get anything going on the ground, and it's just been a hit or miss thing all season long, but you needed to see it come through in this game coming off the bye week. We know that this team, with the pass protection that they have, need the running game to help protect Justin Herbert and to give their passing offense a chance. The Chargers running game was not going backwards on Sunday. They dominated, and it was great to see them be able to chew up yards, push the Raiders defensive line back, and it was led by Kimani Vidal, who has just continued to show that, like, he looks like an RB1 in this league, and he did it again on Sunday.
And you couldn't be happier for this guy who, you know, after his rookie season started off with an absolute bang, scoring a touchdown on his very first touch. Things didn't really shake out the way we were expecting from that introduction to him in the NFL. But in his sophomore season, he has been given a huge opportunity with Omarion Hampton being down with the injury, with Najee Harris being down with the injury, for him to show up, be given the keys to the kingdom, and be ready to take off. And he absolutely has. Kimani Vidal has been vital to the Chargers' success on the ground, running the football, 126 yards, including a 59-yard house call. That was awesome. And it wasn't just him. Jarrett Patterson, 54 yards, 4.9 yards a carry. They really dictated what they wanted to do, and it was definitely all about the running game, which obviously when Justin Herbert's having an injury, you're going to limit his passing attempts. He was all right. You know, he was efficient, 15 of 20, but they didn't need him to throw the ball in this game. They ran it 43 times, and they dictated what they wanted to do to the Raiders. They pushed them around all day long, and they dominated in that fashion, and also dominated the time of possession. When you can run it like that, it's hard for any team to beat you.
Yeah, especially the Chargers, because that's a team running the football well that also has a really good quarterback, right? That's a really dangerous combination, and we've always talked about, you know, Greg Roman coming in and saying, imagine if Justin Herbert had a good running game, how good that offense could look like. Well, this year, we've seen glimpses of it, right? And I think it's just about now finding a way to be able to consistently do it week in and week out. But to have this performance with Omarion Hampton potentially coming back next week, man, because I mean, Omarion Hampton, I mean, just in the small videos we got to see this week, looked fresh. You know, another, you know, extra long week to rest with Monday Night Football. I'd be surprised if he wasn't out there for that game. So to have the 1-2 punch now of Kimani Vidal, who's come out of nowhere to be, you know, over the last month and a half, probably one of the better backs in football. I mean, you're talking about, what, 3 or 4 over 100 yards from scrimmage performances from this guy in his past, like 6-7 games. That's really, really good. And I mean, I think you especially saw that burst. Like, we've seen a lot from Kimani Vidal. We haven't seen that home run hitting ability. We haven't seen him pulling away from defensive backs and being able to just turn that into a house call, right? Like, that's what we were so excited about with Omarion Hampton, because we saw that against the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Where he just broke a tackle and he's gone. This one, And credit to Greg Roman for running that play on third down and going outside, which is where they run best. If you stack the box and you can make it through that first initial line of scrimmage where all the defenders are, it's going to open things up. It was great watching him totally just shake the safety and then take that one to the house. It really sparked things in the second half for the Chargers. It was a big part of the reason they were able to pull away. But one of the other big reasons he was able to get sprung for that run was Jamari Salyer, who I thought was, at least on first watch, a big improvement, David, at left tackle. We wanted to see it. It did not disappoint.
I mean, when we saw it the first time, when he came in because of an injury and played left tackle, he was fantastic. So It's like, why didn't you just stick with that? Like, it's clear to me that his best position is at tackle. That's where he has played the best. He saved the Chargers when he was a rookie playing left tackle after Rashawn Slater went down. And it seems like he's primed to do it again with Rashawn Slater not there and Joe Alt not there. Jamari Salyer gets his opportunity. And we don't have the numbers yet. We don't know the pressures or the sacks allowed. But the eye test, it definitely looks a lot more solidified, a lot more protected on that left side when you watch him out there. I mean, it's just a completely different situation. And I mean, what we heard was the Chargers weren't going to be able to run their rushing offense the way they wanted to with Jamari Salyer at left tackle. And not only were they able to do that and excel, they definitely provided better production and better protection, for Justin Herbert, which obviously is the most important thing. If Justin Herbert's protected, he can dice anybody up out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you think back to the kind of big runs from this game, including the biggest run of the game, and it was to the left side, doing what they've done best. And it honestly kind of just frustrates you because it's like, man, you spent 2 different picks thinking you needed another tackle on this team after the loss of Rashawn Slater and trading a pick for Austin Deculus and trading a 6th-round pick in the future for Trevor Penning when the guy that you needed is on your roster already. Now, they were using him to replace Mekhi Becton a bunch at right guard because he had obviously been in and out in the lineup. And we'll talk about the Mekhi Becton drama maybe tomorrow, but that's something we didn't get to cover over the weekend, something we can bring up on Buy or Sell Show tomorrow. But, man, it just seemed obvious, and like there's going to be bigger tests, right? Max Crosby got a lot of Trey Pipkins in this game. Jamari Salyer didn't get too much Max Crosby, at least from first watch. He's going to have his challenges, but the thing is like you just needed it to not be a total disaster.
Yeah.
And he felt like Jamari Salyer could not let it be a total disaster. And I thought he was good in his first game. At least you didn't realize how, like he wasn't constantly popping up like you saw some of the bad guys in there before him. So thought that was huge. And as far as like improvements this team can make personnel wise, like that's one of the biggest ones. Like that play they got from him at left tackle was better than anything you've gotten out on the roster outside of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. And it's better than anything you could pick up off the streets. So
leave him there.
That is a huge development for this offense. But I also thought, David, in a game where the Chargers really spread the ball around, Quentin Johnston, I think, deserves a shout out. I mean, on that first drive, caught 2 bullet passes from Justin Herbert, 2 fastballs, I would say, and had really nice hands catches on both of them. But the second one was the one where he caught it and then just leveled 2 Raiders defenders who went down in a cloud of smoke, and the only man remaining was Quentin Johnston just basically standing there staring at him and then easily stepping into the end zone to get the Chargers on the board. But maybe the more encouraging one to me, David, was the one he made with the Chargers up by 10, needing a big drive to kind of put the game away after the Raiders' ridiculous touchdown to Brock Bowers, which was just silly.
Ridiculous.
Justin Herbert on a third down goes to Quentin Johnston. It's a low throw. Quentin slides to make the catch and made just, a big time tough catch. And you could tell by his reaction, he knows that's not a catch that he's made every time. It was nice to see him make some difficult catches in this game.
Quentin Johnston has been a touchdown machine this year. There are only 3 players in the NFL that have more touchdowns,
that's crazy,
receiving touchdowns, than Quentin Johnston this season. Just let that sink in, okay? But yeah, this game, a great performance. Yeah, only 3 targets, but 3 catches. And yeah, they were difficult ones. They were important ones. And I love how everybody just underestimates him and thinks they're just going to be able to blast him and bring him down. That doesn't happen. Yeah. If you want to get him on the ground, you got to bring your lunch pail to work, okay? That's absolutely what it's going to take. And also just Keenan Allen, 4 catches on 5 targets, 39 yards, multiple third down conversion catches. Trey Harris, 3 catches for 30 yards, multiple third down conversions that went for first downs. Just everybody that they've been able to get the ball to, they did their job today. It wasn't a ton of passing output, but they were important catches, and they were all made. That's most important.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen has 4 catches. 3 of them are first down conversions on third down. Lam McConkey quietly, leads the team in receiving yards. Aronde Gadsden pitches in a big explosive that gets the Chargers deep in the red zone. They spread the wealth today, and when Justin Herbert's only throwing the ball 20 times and even completing 75% of his passes, you're not going to see a lot of big-time receiving days, but I thought they all pitched in and did something important, including Trey Harris, who had the nice little third down conversion on a little touch pass, like we saw the one Keenan Allen get his receptions record on. Also had another one where they're targeting him on a slant. He picks up 15 yards, goes through contact on a nice, hard catch, tough run after the catch. They're trusting him more and more. The Chargers have weapons, and at least today it felt like the offensive line gave him a chance to show what they can do. But we're probably burying the lead because the Chargers defense, I thought, had a mostly dominant performance on Sunday, including Tuli Tuipulotu, who was an absolute monster and showed in this game he can be a game wrecker. We're getting into that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and more, and it's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states. One of the reasons I love Prize Picks so much is me and David can both do it. You can do it in California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia as well. And they've had an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. So make sure you guys check that out. You can also do stacks now, which lets you choose the same player for up to 3 different things in one lineup, like quarterback, passing yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards. And there's still a game left this week. If you want to get on the action, you go with the Giants and the Patriots for Drake May to throw for more than or less than 245.5 passing yards and stack that with his rushing yards more or less than 21.5 yards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first play. Your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks. It's good to be right. David, the one thing we haven't talked about so far is the Chargers defense, and I thought this was a really big-time bounce-back performance by Jesse Minter's group after getting embarrassed and having 35 points hung on them by Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It felt like this was a big-time answer to that, and the Raiders' offense isn't good, right? Like, the Raiders are a very bad team. They put up 14 points, which is the same as they put up last week against the Cleveland Browns, or maybe they put up 10 last week, but one of those came from a ridiculous Brock Bowers touchdown. I'm still not quite sure how he caught that ball, but I think overall you look at what they were able to do in totality defensively against this Raiders team, and you're like, okay, that is a good step in the right direction for a defense that was reeling a little bit.
Yeah, it was. It was a get-right opportunity, and they took that opportunity, and they made the most of it. 5 sacks of Geno Smith. They held him to under 170 yards passing, and they bottled up Ashton Genty on the ground, 15 carries for 31 yards.
Yeah.
2.1 yards a carry. He did not really do anything in this football game. He caught a couple of passes, but he could never get out of the blocks. He didn't really have any kind of big explosive plays. The Chargers dominated this game defensively, outside of a couple of touchdowns of Brock Bowers, and that one, I mean, all you can do is tip your cap on that one. I mean, there's nothing anybody can do about that. That was a superhuman, spectacular catch by Brock Bowers. You got to give credit where credit is due. That was phenomenal. But besides that, the Chargers dictated everything that they wanted to do basically on defense in this game. The Raiders, outside of the first half, wasn't really close. Once it got to the second half and the Chargers kind of broke away, they were able to pin their ears back and dominate, and they did a great job of limiting the Raiders on first and second down, getting into those third and long situations where they know they have a quarterback that likes to hold on to the ball and get sacked. He's got sacked 20 times over the last 3 games. The Chargers wanted to add a couple more. They added 5 more, and Tuli Tuipulotu was a one-man wrecking machine in this game. 7 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 big sacks. Got to love it. Huge performance, a breakout performance for Tuli Tuipulotu.
Yeah, and just getting back to the entire defense, I mean, Tony Jefferson, Dante Jackson combining, for maybe the most incredible pick of the Chargers season so far. Dante Jackson, great coverage on the sideline, bats the ball up. Tony Jefferson, full speed, somehow finds a way to corral the football and get both knees inbounds on his way out. Just a really, really fun one there. But also, the Raiders went 2 for 8 on third down, only converting 25% of the time. They went 0 for 2 on fourth down, which was another big part of this game, and something the Chargers have had times where they have struggled with fourth down conversions as well. So that was big time. I think also, just 3.4 yards per play. That's a good day at the offense defensively, especially when you hit Geno Smith 9 times total, including the 5 sacks, and they lost 40 yards off of those 5 sacks. So just a huge performance by the Chargers defense. In a game they should dominate, right? Like, this is a game they should have that kind of performance. And going forward, especially if it's a limited Justin Herbert, they're going to need their defense to carry them for parts of these games and maybe win them some of these games in the next 5 they have coming up. But Tuli Tuipulotu was a monster. 7 total tackles, 2 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss. Also came up huge on a 4th and 1 stop against Ashton Genty, and had a pass broken up as well, batted a ball down as well. So really filled up the stat sheet. And this was, one of the best performances of his career. He did show that he has kind of game-wrecking potential. It's not the most sacks he's had in a game, but I think when you're looking at just the overall ability that he showed against the run, which is crazy because now this dude's at 10 sacks on the season. Tuli, year by year, has increased the sack total, and now he's at 10 with 5 games to go. I mean, we're talking about a guy who could be getting up 13, 14 sacks, and you'll still have him under contract for another year before he has to get paid, but you'll probably pay him after this upcoming offseason.
I would.
But he was awesome. He was the Chargers' best defensive player on Sunday.
Tuli Tuipulotu was a man on a mission today. He was fantastic. I loved that they kind of rushed him on the inside and put him over the guards, and that's just a massive mismatch for pretty much anybody, unless you're Quentin Nelson, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Tuli Tuipulotu's speed and quickness and just that power that he plays with, that kind of reckless abandon, that's hard for any guard to be able to stay in front of. And the Raiders guards didn't do that today. Absolutely not. Especially, whenever he was coming at them with the quickness, they just couldn't handle it. But it wasn't just the guards. It was anybody who was trying to block him. He was in the backfield repeatedly a lot. But it wasn't just him. It was Derwin James getting half a sack. It was Khalil Mack getting half a sack. It was Bud Dupree getting another sack. So they were able to get some consistent pressure in this game. But that's the type of performance that you want to see out of Tuli Tuipulotu. After they let Joey Bosa walk, right, and he's out there making big plays and doing big things for the Buffalo Bills, that's what you want to see out of Tuli Tuipulotu. Is he ready? Was he ready to take that next step and really be the guy, be the man in the edge room? And he is proving that he absolutely is capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you've seen throughout his first few seasons is the ability to get sacks based on just pure effort and just the relentlessness that he plays with. But you're seeing a little more finesse to his game now, a little bit more technicality to his game now, and it's paying off in a big way. But I don't want to get done with the show without shouting out the special teams, which I thought had a pretty good game in this one. Went into it with the worst coverage teams on punt return and kick return, or kickoff and punt so far this season. That was much better in this game. Cameron Dicker hits a 56-yard field goal, which was awesome to put the score at 17 and kind of put the Raiders away in this one. And also, just really wherever you look as far as coverage, only gave up a 2-yard return on the one punt that was returned by J.K. Scott. Thought he was pretty good in this game. But David, this was something where the Chargers, and then we'll need them even more now, need the special teams to be good again. And I thought the special teams were good on Sunday.
Yeah, outside of a pretty decent kick return, I think they did a good job in coverage. But I think for me, Darius Davis had one of his best return games of the season. I think he was really solid, had 3 kick returns for 88 yards. That averaged 29.3 yards, including a long of 30. But the punt return, I mean, he had one really good punt return for 18 yards. That was very, very encouraging. I mean, we're not looking for, obviously you want the home runs, you want the big punt return touchdowns, but anytime that you can get positive yardage in the return game and the special teams game, then that could be the difference. That field position is critically important. Whenever you can find those hidden yards, it's going to help you win games. And I think Darius Davis helped the Chargers win this football game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that for your special teams, he is the most kind of dynamic player that you've seen be an all-pro player as a punt returner. So to have him averaging like less than 8 yards per punt return coming into this game, just you could tell something wasn't right. I still don't even know if he still has the total burst we've seen from him at his best, but I thought today was a good step in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the good return by Darius Davis, the good coverage, they did have the one where the guy muffed it to begin with and he still had a decent return, but they didn't give up a kickoff return of over 29 yards in this game, and the Raiders only averaged 27 yards per return, which is actually so much better than where they have been. And you're just not letting the other team just get a huge advantage starting at the 40, the 45-yard line, kicking it out of bounds, giving it to them at the 40. Like, all parts of the game outside of Cameron Dicker's leg had to be improved for this special teams unit. And it was a lot better on Sunday. So there will be more tests ahead, and it would be great to see the Chargers, help win games with their special teams. And I thought today, that they kind of did. I thought it was more just not losing them the game, and they were a net positive, which I think is a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah.
We still have yet to see, I think, the best of this special teams unit, and I think that we will see better games from them going forward. It does feel like they figured some things out during the bye week. But that's going to wrap things up for today's show. Thank you for bearing with us, everyone who's there for the first stream. That started off really choppy. Still don't know what happened with that, but we'll get to the bottom of it. Thank you for sticking around with us anyways. To make sure you don't miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from, as well as finding the show every day on all of our social media at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. But thank you guys. Make sure you're back here tomorrow because it is Buy or Sell Tuesday, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreactions. So you can hit us up on all of our social media or at 323-524-7924 on the Locked On Chargers voicemail line. Give us your 30-second Chargers buy or sell. I know there's probably a lot of storylines and overreactions to go around after a big-time win, but also a big-time injury for Justin Herbert. But we are the only daily Chargers podcast out there as part of the #1 sports podcast network. So whatever news we get this week about Justin Herbert, we will be there to cover it with you guys. So thank you guys for checking out the show again. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.